Malaysia did the unthinkable. They made $1 billion look small by taking a huge gamble of $100 billion. We may be witnessing this kind of stunt for the very first time. Today, we will discuss Malaysia's $100 billion bet to save the country. Malaysia is making one of the biggest financial moves ever. A $100 billion development project aimed at boosting the economy, creating jobs, and turning the country into a global business hub. This project is called Forest City, a futuristic city being built on artificial islands near Johor, right next to Singapore. The plan sounds exciting, but there is a problem. It's a huge risk. If everything goes well, Forest City could bring in millions of investors, new businesses, and high-paying jobs, turning Malaysia into a powerful player in Southeast Asia. But if things go south, it could leave the country stuck with a massive debt, empty buildings, and a struggling economy. There's already a lot of controversy. Many people are asking, who is benefiting from this project? Will Malaysians be able to afford to live in this city? And most importantly, can Malaysia afford to take this risk? With so much at stake, we can't imagine if things go the other way. Creating something new takes time, energy, planning, and money. And Malaysia made sure money won't stand in its way. The main planning of Malaysia's huge bet starts with the Forest City, a planned smart city that is supposed to become one of the most advanced urban centers in the world. The idea is to build 4 man-made islands covering over 30 square kilometers in Johor, right next to Singapore. It's designed to be a high-tech, eco-friendly metropolis that attracts investors, businesses, and wealthy residences from around the globe. A project this ambitious deserves some attention. So, if future megacities and game-changing ideas fascinate you, maybe you could give that little button below a nudge. The plan includes residential towers, luxury hotels, shopping districts, industrial zones, and even green spaces. It will have smart infrastructure like AI-powered traffic systems, renewable energy sources, and high-speed transportation network. Developers have promised that the Forest City will be a paradise for innovation, finance, and tourism, making Malaysia a key player in the global economy. But here's the real goal. Malaysia wants to compete with Singapore, obviously, right? Singapore is already one of the world's richest cities, and it attracts massive foreign investment every year. Malaysia hopes that by building Forest City right on its border, it can grab a share of that economic success. The plan is to attract wealthy investors from China, Singapore, and other parts of Asia, boosting Malaysia's economy in the process. However, big plans come with big challenges. The government and developers need to sell thousands of properties, bring in businesses, and convince people that Forest City is the future. If they fail, this $100 billion dream could quickly become a financial disaster. The question now is, who is funding this project? For people like us, banks provide loans for our needs. But who funds entire countries? At the core of Forest City's financing is Country Garden Holdings, one of China's real estate agents. They've invested billions of dollars, making the largest foreign investment in Malaysia's history. Partnering with them is Esplanade Danga 88, a Malaysian firm tied to the Sultan of Johor. This collaboration means China brings the money and expertise while Malaysia has the political and financial ties to the project. But here's where things get complicated. China's real estate market is struggling and Country Green itself is facing financial difficulties. The company has been caught in China's property crisis, struggling with debt and declining home sales. As a result, its ability to keep funding massive overseas projects like the Forest City have been questioned. In fact, in 2023, Garden City missed debt payments, leading to fears that the company could collapse, just like Evergrande, the Chinese real estate giant. On the Malaysian side, the government has also invested in infrastructure to boost Forest City, including roads, highways, and connections to the nearby city of Johor Bahru. But unlike China's massive investment, Malaysia isn't directly responsible for funding the core development. That means if Country Garden can't keep up with costs, the project risks stagnation or financial collapse, leaving Malaysia in a difficult position. Anything worth won't come out easily. There always will be new problems upon new problems to make it difficult. In the same way, the Malaysian project also has many problems. One of the biggest issues? Foreign ownership. While Forest City is technically in Malaysia, a huge portion of its investments come from China. The main developer, Country Garden Holdings, is one of China's largest real estate firms, and most of the buyers for luxury apartments were expected to be Chinese investors looking for overseas properties. But that plan hit a major roadblock when the Malaysian government placed restrictions on foreign property ownership, making it harder for Chinese buyers to purchase homes in Forest City. Without enough buyers, many of the high-rise buildings now sit mostly empty, turning parts of the project into what some have called a ghost city. Forest City promises a better future, new jobs, economic growth, and a chance for Malaysia to become a global real estate hub. The project was supposed to create over 220,000 jobs, attracting millions of residences and transform Johor into a thriving financial and tech center. But reality hasn't lived up to the vision. For local Malaysians, the big issue is affordability. The luxury apartments in Forest City were designed for wealthy foreign buyers, mainly from China, not for the average Malaysian. With units priced far beyond what locals can afford, the project hasn't addressed Malaysia's real housing needs. Then there's the environmental impact. Building 4 artificial islands mean reclaiming land from the sea, which has destroyed marine habitats, damaging local fisheries, and threatening coastal ecosystems. Fishermen in Johor have reported that their catches have dropped, and environmental groups warned that the long-term effects could be devastating. What was meant to be an eco-friendly city is now being questioned for its actual sustainability. And let me talk to you about the political tensions. Malaysia has seen multiple leadership changes over the years. Not all politicians agree on the project. Some have called it a financial trap that benefits China more than Malaysia, while others argue it's a necessary risk for economic growth. In 2018, former Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad even tried to stop foreigners from buying properties in Forest City, which scared off investors and slowed down the project. Even today, the project is still not a sure shot. With global real estate markets fluctuating in China's economic slowdown, demand for luxury properties has declined. If Forest City fails to attract enough residences and businesses, Malaysia could be left with a half-finished megacity and billions of dollars in debt. Cities like Dubai, Singapore, and Shenzhen have proven that well-planned mega projects can transform economies. Dubai once was a desert with little global influence, but today it's a financial and tourism powerhouse. Singapore, a tiny island nation with almost no natural resources, became one of the world's richest economies by focusing on innovation, strong governance, and attracting top global talent. Shenzhen, once a small fishing village, turned into China's Silicon Valley after the government created a special economic zone that encouraged foreign investment in high-tech industries. So what did these cities do that Malaysia couldn't do? One of the biggest factors behind the success of cities like Dubai, Singapore, and Shenzhen is consistent leadership and a long-term vision. In Dubai and Singapore, government policies remained stable over decades, allowing investors to trust in the future of their projects. While in Malaysia, leadership has changed multiple times. Investors and businesses think twice when policies and priorities shift too often. And this has significantly impacted confidence in Malaysia's grand plan. Another major difference is the strength of the local economy. Shenzhen thrived because of China's manufacturing and tech industries were expanding rapidly, creating demand for workers, businesses, and innovation hubs. Malaysia, however, does not have the same level of industrial and technological infrastructure to support a city like Forest City. Without a strong economic engine to drive demand, even the most well-designed city can struggle to attract long-term residences and businesses. Successful cities also diversify their investment sources. Rather than relying on a single country, Dubai and Singapore welcomed investors from around the world, ensuring that the economic slowdowns in one region wouldn't cripple their growth. Forest City, however, was heavily dependent on Chinese buyers, many of whom were purchasing property as investments rather than a permanent home. When China tightened its capital controls to prevent excess money from flowing out into overseas real estate markets, Forest City was left without its main customer base. Finally, the most successful cities built steady economies before focusing on real estate. Dubai, Singapore, and Shenzhen did not just create high-end housing. They established themselves as hubs for technology, finance, and trade. On the other side, Forest City was initially marketed as a luxury housing project instead of an economic powerhouse. Without strong industries, job opportunities, and innovation centers, a city can struggle to attract long-term residents who contribute to its economy. Malaysia's challenge now is to shift Forest City from a real estate-focused development to an economic and innovation hub. If they can create the right conditions by attracting businesses, offering tax incentives, and building industries, the project might still have a future. But without these critical changes, Forest City risks becoming an empty dream. Like and share, and if you are curious about other massive infrastructure projects, check out our deep dive into the $16 billion mega railway project that took forever. Stay tuned, and we see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe.